Hello ladies and gentlemen, my name is Emily Sophia and I am going to be breaking down for you guys the latest and the season premiere of Bates Motel, Gone But Not Forgotten. So, spoiler alert for those of you who have not yet seen the episode or are not yet caught up on the series itself, which I would say you freaking should. This stuff comes as highly Emily approved. So, and if you have seen the show but are kind of trying to recontextualize yourself a little bit, so to remember where we've been, I have reviewed the past season, most of the episodes, so you can find the link in the description to any of those if your heart so desires. But it is a wee bit on the late side, so I'm gonna dive into the shenanigans without any further ado. So I must first rave about the beautiful work of art that is this show, because the series that has probably the most potential to be the most contrived has proved to be worth its weight in gold, I have to say. Because, I mean, you think of all the other films that have tried to ride on the coattails of Psycho's success and, you know, trying to play with the Hitchcockian vibes and, you know, deliver just as his original masterpiece so artfully did. And it ain't, you know, the task is not an easy one. And many have failed in pursuit of the awesome that that film supplied. And yet here we are with this fresh, modern reincarnation of the story and, you know, taking it back a notch to where all the delightful events began. And I could not possibly love anymore what they're doing with the show. And in fact, my only real concern is that they seem to be, judging by the sneak peek at the end of this episode, they seem to be moving at a pretty breakneck pace, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, I kind of figure that the whole whodunit murder mystery would be kind of more of a slow-burning storyline, as I like to call those types of things that are, you know, the multi-arc plots and stuff like that, but it appears that they're getting right to the meat of matters, unless that sneak peek included some footage and stuff from future episodes, like more towards the middle of the season, which they very well could. You know, they like to play with our minds that way, so I try my best to be impervious to their wicked schemes, and yet there's only so much that one can do. You know, you can't help but let yourself wonder, like, are we going in for the kill already? But I loved this episode. There was a lot of movement, a lot of snarkiness and fun and humor and darkness and the macabre and all those things that my soul just cannot get enough of. So, and I first must say that the bane of, okay, for those of you who've seen my vlogs of the series before, you know that the bane of my very existence is Miss Bradley. And yet, I had an epiphany tonight. And it was a beautiful thing, and maybe it's the pain medicine from my chiropractic appointment today, but it hit me that Bradley and Norman are both parallels to one another and inverses of each other. And I think that's why they maintain this connection after all of the douchebaggery on Bradley's part, or shall we say, the, you know, douchebaggery. I like it. I think it applies to both genders, and I think that that was precisely the kind of stuff that she pulled on Norman in the last season. But I think I get it now. I think I know why they have this connection and why I'm probably going to be irritated for a while after. But I think she, you know, she took a lot of interesting and surprising turns this episode, and, you know, I wasn't entirely disinterested in what was happening with her, and, you know, it provides yet another catalyst for Norman to enter the world of murder and death and destruction, which we all know he's going towards anyway. But, you know, it's all about seeing exactly what broke the camel's back. And so the reason why I see more clearly than ever the parallels between them, and not just because of what Bradley does at the end of the episode, Because that's, I mean, yes, you know, I guess they correlate in that they're both technically killers or soon to be, but and that was kind of more of a revenge move on Bradley's part. That was kind of her coming out of her own personal fog of self-destruct mode and doing something for herself. But the whole thing that catalyzed that action of hers is her love of her father. And that's not to say that she has an unhealthy love for her papa, so to speak. I mean, we look at Norman and we can't exactly say that what he's got isn't peculiar in some psychological circles, but at the same time, both Norman and Bradley, you know, they have love for their significant parental figures. For Bradley, it's her father, and for Norman, it's his mother. And then not only that, but then we also see this interesting inverse between them, because Bradley has always been the one in control. She's got the popularity, she's got the school wrapped around her finger, she gets all the access to men and their genitals as she so pleases, whereas Norman is not quite in that same position. He is largely, at least, you know, prior to now, and I think that the tables are going to be turning soon based on some pictures that I've seen from upcoming episodes in the show. But he's largely been dominated and controlled by his mother. And he is in a position where he is responding to and coping with everyone else, and he hasn't had a ton of control. Whereas Bradley has pretty much had free reign of things, White Pine Bay, and so there's that kind of interesting inverse between them. And then whereas Norman is sort of slowly getting to the point of explosion, Bradley's kind of going into this place of implosion. And their paths are kind of intersecting in a really fascinating way. And I feel like there was another parallel even that I had realized earlier on in the episode, and now I can't exactly think of what that is. But again, what they both have is this volatility, and they have a love for their, you know, the significant others in their life, or their lives, those being their parental figures, and it drives them to crazy ends. I mean, you think of the whole mother scene when Norman ended up at Miss Watson's house at the end of last season, and arguably, potentially, possibly, maybe that just might have driven our dear little Normie over the edge, over the river, and into the woods, and into the bathroom with the knife, and, you know, the rest is history. But I still think he did it in general, but I think that I like that the show plays with other theories and tries to get us to feel like just maybe there could be something else, but Norma is going to be on this precarious trapeze tightrope contraption that's going to make this season a most perilous adventure. But hey, that's the only kind that we want to be on, I dare say, if we're gonna, you know, spend at least an hour, you know, every Monday night. And then those of us who are on Tumblr blogging throughout the rest of the week, we want to have something to really sink our teeth into and be all kinds of jazzed about and jacked over. So there's that. Anyway, so they complement one another, Norman and Bradley, in this really weird, twisted way. And I don't necessarily think that it's going to go back to that romance, although there's still the sexual tension, and there's some other chick who's going to be showing up in the future as well, who Norman appears to get hot and heavy with, but I have a bad feeling about her. I think it's possible that this new chick might even get axed before Bradley, because, well, I thought she was going to be gone last season, but I don't entirely loathe her right now. I'm kind of interested as to, you know, exactly where things are headed with those two. But I also want to say that Norma Bates is pretty much the crowning glory of my life right now. All hail the frickin' queen. She is the Khaleesi of White Pine Bay, okay? That speech that she gave at that town hall board meeting, government, what have you. That whole spiel that she goes off on, I mean, targeting like the super conservative moms and then managing to, you know, wrangle in a little criticism of the whole town's socio-political, socio-economic structure, the weed biz. She goes off. And it is just brilliant and dazzling to see Vera Farmiga just back on top and rocking that role, and the whole "you are a dick" and there is nothing else that I could have wanted in life. I lived for this moment and I received it, and I feel self-actualized. I feel that I have achieved inner peace and stasis, having been through that moment with Norma. She is a brilliant beast, and she gets what she wants, but in this case, you know, see what happens with the bypass. Like I live tweeted earlier, you know, she could take down that bypass with her fists, and if not her fists, then with her verbal fists, which, you know, she swung a nice punch or two, but I do anticipate that she'll get into some other skirmishes over the course of the season, so I'm excited. But that was a brilliant performance on her part, just incredibly emotive and so raw. And it shows an interesting side of Norma because she's been so controlling of Norman, and yet we see that in the success that she and Norman have achieved with Bates Motel. She's almost allowing him a bit more freedom, almost begrudgingly, as if she can't really help it. You know, she's got a business, she's trying to be, you know, invested in that and enjoying the moment, perhaps. Because this is what they came out there for. This is everything to her, you know? And yet, we see this part of her in that speech that she so scathingly delivers. We see this part of her that's like, you know, this is how life works. You live and learn. This is the truth. And it's so antithetical to like everything else that is happening, because she is so utterly in denial about everything that is directly involving her son. But when she removes herself, when she removes Norman from the picture, when she just slips that little Polaroid out of the frame and she slips back in the rest of the world over which, you know, she must have the iron rule, then she knows she has this fierce desire for truth and for things to be right and good. And unfortunately, you know, Norman is kind of her black hole, so to speak. Almost even like a Pandora's box that she so jealously guards, and just being in the presence of it, all her senses are skewed. And the idealism that she has for her son could not possibly be more clear than it is. And in that scene where, you know, she's wrapped her arms around Norman and they're staring like lovers into the moonlit night down at their successful little motel, and she's like, remember when we first lit up the no vacancy sign? Oh yes. You know, it's like very much like he's in like the lover position there. So let the sweet incest commence, because, you know, that is also what we want, right? But we can't say no deep down, just a little. Anyways, so fantastic performances from Vera and from freaking Freddie Highmore, who has come into his own. Really powerful stuff in the way that he portrays Norman's obsession with Miss Blair Watson. I really enjoyed it. It was quite creepy, and we can see Norma's frantic concern for her son and his, you know, his basement hobbies and his chosen destinations for their oh so fun practice drives. I feel like a fun, like, spin-off sitcom would be, you know, road trips with road trips with the Bates. I don't like Bates on the road, Bates on the run. I don't know. I feel like there could be a really fantastic name. If you can think of one, put it in the comments. Anyways, you know, just the two of them like driving around, getting in trouble, not knowing whether to freaking pass a truck on an empty country road, and the sheer stress, every waking moment, perpetual terror. I feel like we need that, you know, as a little supplementary piece of the show. But yeah. Anyways, so and then the whole scene later on where Norman returns to Miss Watson's grave and photographs the man who he's kind of trying to frame, and I just love and the position that Romero is in this season. I adore him. He is a subtle bastard, you know. He's just taken all this weird crap in stride, you know. I mean, granted, he knows the seedy underbelly of the city, so he just kind of takes things, you know, puts it in the bank and walks away, and then yeah, but I really like I'm excited to see where his relationship with Norma goes over the course of the show too, because I hear that Norma is supposed to end up with another love interest, probably some pretty blondie boy, you know. Norman's got a thing for blondes, she's got a thing for blondes, probably because she's trying to deny the thing about her attractive little Freddie Highmore son. Anyways, but I kind of dig the whole Romero-Norma thing. They've got a good energy, because I like their exchanges. They're feisty, you know, and I don't know, I'm pretty excited. But anyways, gosh, I feel so weird, this medicine I'm on. I haven't the slightest. I hope I'm coherent right now. But, yeah. So, lots of fun stuff. Oh, and Dylan is not a douchebag. As we thought that he was going to pursue the Bradley on edge, breaking Bradley, and yet he refrains in honor of his brother, and he pays rent to his mom. And he's just the dandiest. He's, you know, the dandiest Dylan. I'm really quite proud of him, and, you know, trying to keep his head above water with stuff at work, which Bradley is intertwining herself with, and I think it's really fascinating how they're bringing all the, you know, these minor characters together, like the whole Gil and Bradley's dad and Miss Watson and the weird freaking triangle and the seduction and the everything. I mean, all of that in just this premiere episode, you know, bringing all those things in together, tying all the pieces into a little knot, and then just kind of pulling it apart at the last second as the gun fires, and dun dun dun, guess what? Norman's gonna have to help another blonde chick go on a body dump, because that is his unofficial part-time job, aside from taxidermizing increasingly complex animals, visiting graveyards and taking photos of suspicious-looking middle-aged men. The average life, you know? I remember teenagerhood. Good times, good times. So yeah, that's just gonna be a delightful mess. I'm interested to see where Emma goes. You know, she's working at the Bates Resort, taking care of the happy vacationers, as Norma calls them, and I feel badly for her. I feel very badly for her choice in men, and yet I can't blame her, because Freddie's just a cute little button who also happens to be really good at playing a psychopath that nobody wants to accept as a psychopath. But, you know, the jury's still out for White Pine Bay, but unfortunately we're in a place where we know. And that's what makes the tension so delightful. So yeah, I think that I've touched on everybody, and we're gonna be introduced to some new characters soon, and to some grisly truths on Norma's part. And yeah, lots of really exciting pieces in motion. I love the way that Norman's madness is slowly really slowly being teased out. And yet there are these parts of the plot that I thought would take longer that appear to be moving pretty quickly. So, but hey, I'll take it, you know, if they've got a plan, and I trust them that, you know, the pilot season was a fantastic ride, and, you know, I don't think that this season will not live up to that. That was a really roundabout way of saying that I think it's gonna be awesome, and I already really love it. So let me know what you guys thought. What are your hopes and your fears? And I mean, ultimately all our fears are going to be realized, so let's be real. Just get them out there ahead of time, and then we'll confront them. We'll sing a little bit of Kumbaya. We'll take care of it, as we always do. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, if there's anything that I missed or failed to discuss, then leave it in the comments. We'll duke it out. And it's like 11 p.m. and I need to crash epically. So you guys take care. We will be back at Bates Motel again next week, and I'll be back before you know it.